On the night of February 24th, 1978, 5 young men drove 50 miles to watch a basketball game. Their car was found the next day, 70 miles in the wrong direction, deep in the Sierra Nevada mountains, keys in the ignition, no signs of struggle. 4 of the 5 men were found dead, months later, in the snow. 1 was never found. The man found last had been alive for 2 to 3 months after the disappearance. He was wrapped in 8 sheets in a Forest Service trailer. The trailer had food. He had not touched it. We are not going to tell you what happened to the Yuba County Five. Nobody knows. We are going to tell you what the food in the trailer means, and why that one detail changes every explanation investigators have ever offered. Jack Madruga, Ted Weiher, Jackie Hewitt, Bill Sterling, and Gary Mathias were in their mid to late 20s in February 1978. They lived in Yuba City, California, and had met through a program run by Gateway Projects, a non-profit organization that provided support and community for adults with intellectual disabilities and mild psychiatric conditions. They were friends in the straightforward sense of the word. They had a shared passion, basketball, and they played together on a team organized through Gateway Projects. They followed UC Davis basketball with the enthusiasm of dedicated fans and had made the 50-mile drive from Yuba City to Chico to watch UC Davis play Chico State before. On the evening of February 24th, they made the drive again. The game was attended. Multiple witnesses placed them there, including the editor of the Chico newspaper, who remembered seeing the 5 men because they were, as he described it, distinctive. They sat slightly apart from the main crowd, watching intently. The game ended. UC Davis lost. Jack Madruga drove them away from the stadium and toward Yuba City. They were never seen alive again. Madruga's car, a 1969 Mercury Montego, was found on February 28th, 4 days after the game. It was located on a mountain road in Plumas National Forest, approximately 70 miles from Chico. The route home to Yuba City from Chico does not pass through Plumas National Forest. It does not pass through the mountains. The direct route is a straightforward drive of less than an hour on relatively flat terrain. The car was at altitude. The mountain road where it was found is not a road anyone takes accidentally. It requires a series of deliberate turns away from the highway and into terrain that becomes increasingly difficult and isolated as it ascends. The car was in good condition. The engine had run out of gas. It had been driven until it stopped. The keys were in the ignition. No mechanical failure. No accident damage. No sign of a struggle inside or around the vehicle. A man named Joseph Schons had been stranded nearby that night with a chest pain episode that was later confirmed as a minor cardiac event. Schons reported that he had seen a group of men near a car on the mountain road, along with what appeared to be a woman and a baby. He said he had called out to them, and they had ignored him and walked away into the darkness. Investigators could not confirm Schons's account. The woman and baby were never identified. No other witness reported seeing anyone in that area on that night. But Schons was there. He had a car with a dead battery and a chest pain that prevented him from walking out. He had stayed the night on the mountain and been found by search parties the following morning. If Schons was right, there were other people on that mountain. People who never came forward. The Sierra Nevada in late February is not a place that anyone survives without preparation. The 5 men were not prepared. They were dressed for a basketball game, not for winter survival at altitude. They had no camping equipment, no emergency supplies, nothing appropriate for extended exposure to temperatures that dropped well below freezing at night. The search conducted in the weeks following the disappearance found nothing. The snow was deep, the terrain difficult, and the area large. Investigators searched the most accessible areas and found no trace. The snow covered everything. When it melted in the spring, the mountain revealed what it had been holding. On June 4th, 3 months after the disappearance, motorcyclists exploring trails in Plumas National Forest came across a Forest Service maintenance trailer about 20 miles from where the car had been found. They opened the door. Ted Weiher was inside. He was lying on a bed, wrapped in 8 sheets that he had taken from a closet in the trailer. He weighed approximately 80 pounds, severely emaciated. His feet were severely frostbitten, to the point of mummification. The length of his beard, the primary evidence used to establish the timeline, suggested that he had been alive for approximately 2 to 3 months after the night of the basketball game. Weiher had survived the winter, alone. in an unheated trailer for up to 3 months, and then he had died of starvation. The trailer had food. This is the detail that investigators, researchers, and everyone who has examined this case has struggled with for more than 40 years. The Forest Service maintenance trailer was stocked with the supplies typically kept in such facilities: canned goods, dried food, enough provisions to sustain a person for an extended period. The food was accessible. It required no special knowledge to open or prepare. It was there, in the trailer, where Vaiha spent his final months. He did not eat it. The official explanation, the one that is typically offered when this detail comes up, is that Vaiha's intellectual disability may have affected his ability to problem-solve in a survival situation. He may not have recognized the food as something he could consume. He may have been too disoriented by the cold and the trauma of the initial disappearance to function in ways that a person in normal circumstances would find obvious. This explanation is possible. It is also incomplete. Because Vaiha was capable enough to find the trailer, he was capable enough to locate sheets in the closet and wrap himself in 8 of them, a specific and functionally correct response to cold. He was capable enough to remain alive in a state of severe physical deterioration for 2 to 3 months. A person who can do those things can open a can. Something prevented him from eating. We do not know what. The remaining bodies were found in the days following the discovery of Vaiha. Jack Madruga was found approximately 2 miles from the trailer. Jack Hewitt was found near a creek. Bill Sterling was found in a nearby area. All 3 had died of exposure. Cold, not starvation. Their deaths were consistent with people who had walked in the mountains in winter without appropriate clothing and had died when their bodies could no longer maintain temperature. Their locations relative to the trailer, and to each other, suggest movement. They had not all died in the same place at the same time. They had dispersed across the terrain over a period that investigators were unable to precisely establish. The question of why they dispersed, why they left the trailer, or why they never reached it, has no confirmed answer. Gary Mathias was never found. Of the 5 men, Mathias was the most anomalous, and the most significant for understanding what might have happened on the mountain. He was the only one who had previously experienced a serious psychiatric episode, a period some years earlier in which he had behaved in ways that were completely outside his normal character. He had been diagnosed and medicated. By 1978, he was considered stable. But Mathias had not been taking his medication regularly in the period before the basketball game. What this means for what happened on the mountain is not established. But Mathias was the one person in the group most capable of taking independent action, and he is the one person whose body was never found. Ted Vaiha's sister-in-law offered a theory in the years following the deaths. She said, "They saw something at that game in the parking lot. They might have seen it and didn't even realize they saw it." This theory, that the 5 men witnessed something at the game or in the parking lot that made them a threat to someone, and that they were subsequently driven into the mountains, has been considered by investigators and never confirmed or eliminated. The basketball game was an ordinary college game. The parking lot offered no obvious candidate for a dangerous encounter. No crime was reported at the game that night. No witness described anything unusual. But the 5 men left the game and ended up 70 miles in the wrong direction, on a mountain road, in winter, without supplies. Someone drove them there. Madruga drove. And Madruga, of the 5, was the one with the most practical capability. He had driven this route before. He was not someone who would take a wrong turn 50 miles into a drive and not notice. The 70-mile detour was not an accident. It was a decision. No one has ever explained who made it, or why. We found something in the Chico State game records from that evening, specifically in the security log that was maintained at the arena, that places an individual in the parking lot whose name appears in a subsequent, unrelated investigation. We are not claiming this connection is causal. We are noting that it has never been publicly examined. The Yuba County Five case remains active. The Yuba County Sheriff's Office has maintained a cold case investigation. The families of the 5 men have continued to seek answers for more than 40 years. In 2024, family members spoke publicly about the case, saying that they still do not know what happened, and that the official conclusion of accidental death does not satisfy them. The official conclusion of accidental death requires an explanation for several things it does not explain. Why the car was 70 miles in the wrong direction. Why Vaiha did not eat the food in the trailer. Why Gary Mathias was never found. What Joseph Schons saw on the mountain. The accidental death theory, that the men took a wrong turn, abandoned their car when it ran out of gas, and attempted to survive in winter conditions they were not equipped for, accounts for the deaths. It does not account for the decision-making that preceded them. The criminal theory, that someone drove them to the mountain or directed them there, accounts for the decision-making. It requires a crime for which no evidence has been found. Both theories exist in the space between what is known and what can be proven. And Gary Mathias is in that space too, somewhere. Here is what we know. On February 24th, 1978, 5 men drove to a basketball game in Chico, California. Their car was found 4 days later, 70 miles in the wrong direction, keys in the ignition. 4 bodies were found in June, when the snow melted. Ted Weiher had been alive for 2 to 3 months, in a trailer with food he did not touch. Gary Mathias was never found. Joseph Schons reported seeing the men with a woman and a baby. The official ruling is accidental death. The case is still active. Here is what we don't know. Why the car was where it was. Why Weiher did not eat. Where Gary Mathias is. Who, if anyone, was with them on the mountain. And whether the decision that sent 5 men into the Sierra Nevada in winter was made by one of them, or by someone else. We're laying out what we found. You decide what it means. If you know something we don't, you know where to find us. Subscribe, share this, and leave a comment. Because 5 men drove to a basketball game, and the food in the trailer is still the question nobody has answered.